This week, our journey from Breckenridge to Park City and everything in between, and our visit to one of the better campground amenities that we've ever seen in our lives, and a whole lot more. This is RV Miles.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways, in campgrounds, and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. From award-winning tow bars and base plates to a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and now they have fifth wheel hitches too. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. Visit blueox.com for more information. Harvest Host is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America, like breweries, farms, attractions, wineries, and much more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member.
Welcome to episode number 362 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two RVers who, along with our boys, have been crisscrossing all over North America, living the RV life since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to spectacular travel destinations and so much more.
We're coming to you from Yellowstone National Park. It's been gorgeous. We're near the we're staying at Fishing Bridge Campground, but right now you're seeing us, if you're watching this, near the Fishing Bridge area with the beautiful Lake Yellowstone behind us. So
how can you be grumpy when
great.
This is your environment?
Now we've had a lot of rain and snow.
But it's not been bad.
No, and it kind of comes and goes, and there's not a lot of people. It's chilly, but it's a nice chilly, and we've seen all kinds of wildlife. It's been great. We're going to get to all of that on a different episode.
Yeah, we're not talking about Yellowstone.
When we talk about Yellowstone, probably a couple episodes to talk about Yellowstone. But this episode, we're going to talk about our journey from Breckenridge into Utah, into Park City and Colville, and our stay at Rome Echo Island, and our high desert hangout, meetup, and more. But we wanted to start off with a question that I came across. This wasn't an RV Miles question, but it was something that I came across in a Facebook group that I thought would be really good to answer. The question was, can I put my slides part way out in storage?
Oh.
And this is something that is kind of been a little bit of a challenge for us in our new storage space. Our new storage space, we have a bougie indoor storage now, and it is exactly as wide as our fifth wheel with the slides open. Like, we've got an inch to spare on either side. We have to park it exactly right in order to be able to open the slides up.
We went into the space and we've marked with tape exactly where, when Jason backs it in, exactly where the tires have to line up. Like, the side of the tire, not the middle of the tire, but the side of the tire. It has to line up in that particular space. It cannot be off, because that is the only way we can get all of the slides out in order to have access to the rig when it is in storage, be that for wanting to get it ready to go out, or we just want to go over there and do a few things to it. So
now, we don't have to put out all our slides out to access everything.
No.
Really, we only need to put out the dinette slide, and we can pretty much get to everything else except for a couple cabinets.
It was very important, though, that we needed all the slides out when we first brought the rig back, because we needed to get everything.
Yeah, we needed to load it up.
We needed to load it up. So in the beginning, we needed all of those slides out in order to be able to get to all the places we needed to get it set up and ready to go, because we didn't want to necessarily take it over to a campground to do all that, because the whole point of having storage, and especially of having that indoor storage space, was so that we could access it no matter what the weather and get it ready to go.
But we took it to a campground anyway.
Anyway,
So the question, can you leave your slides partially out? The answer is a hard no for a variety of reasons. But the main reason is your slide is not sealed up at all when it's partially out. There is a seal when it's closed, and there's a seal when it's open, and anything in between, there's huge air gaps. And weather can get through there, mice can get through there, anything can get through there, bugs can get through there. So you don't want to have your slide partially open. The other thing is, most slide out systems, not so much with the rack and pinion slides, but with, if you've got cable slides or if you got the Schwintek slides, you don't want to be putting them partway in and out. And as a matter of fact, it's best if you can just put them all the way out without stopping. If you have to stop, because something's going to break or something's in the way, that's okay. But you always want to continue putting it all the way out, because the slide motors synchronize in that last few seconds after you put the slide all the way out or all the way in. So you actually want to hold down that slide button for about 3 seconds after the slide has completely stopped. And that helps the slide motors synchronize up. And if you go partway out and then come back in, they could be way off, and that could really cause some damage. So you want to be careful about doing anything like that. But yeah, don't put the slide partially out, because there is no weather seal whatsoever.
There's not going to be enough Irish soap in the world to keep those mice from coming into your rig. So.
Irish spring soap doesn't work. It's not a thing. Other thing we want to talk about quick before we get into the meat of this episode is we want to shout out ourselves, I guess, and the folks over at RV Today magazine.
Really, we want to shout out the folks at RV Today magazine, because we had nothing to do with any of this other than we showed up to take some pictures.
There is a big spread on the Sabre 37 RV miles in this month's issue of RV Today magazine. You can get it digitally. You can get it soon in stores. It's not in Barnes & Noble stores yet, this month's issue, but it will be soon. So we're excited about going to pick one up, and it's a huge spread with lots of photos.
Oh my gosh.
So we're very excited about it.
They are so good at RV Today with the way they lay out that magazine. It's beautiful. And I told Jamie, I said to her that this was like a gift to our family to have this, because it's part of a season of life for us that's ending, a chapter of our RV life that's kind of ending now that Jack is older and he won't always be out with us. So to have these pictures of our family in the 37 RV miles in this beautiful boondocking spot that we're about to talk about here in Utah, to have this and to have this forever was just, my heart was so full. I just cried. I kept crying. I would think about it later and I would start crying, because they were so gentle and kind and beautiful with this. And you can tell that they really took the time there to create. Oh, it's so wonderful. And we're really proud to have them as one of our kind of perk partners for mile markers. Anytime you join our mile marker community, RV Today will give you a free lifetime digital subscription. I mean, that's how much we believe in them, and then how much they support and believe in what we do here at RV Miles. And so they're just really wonderful people, and this magazine is beautiful. You need it as a hard copy. Like when I see it in Barnes & Noble, I will probably start crying in the middle of Barnes & Noble, because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We've been in several other issues with some articles that we've worked with them on, but this is really special. So go check it out. We'll put a link to it in the description if you want to check out the digital version, or if you're a mile marker member, get your free subscription.
Yeah.
So
get your other perks too if you haven't gotten them, guys. There's some sweet ones recently. So go check that out, mile marker members.
Spring is here. Time to get your rigs ready for the travel season. This is the perfect time to complete those much needed upgrades or repairs. And that's where eTrailer.com comes in. eTrailer.com's customer service and enthusiast teams are ready to help you find the best solution for your unique situation. eTrailer's team is focused on putting their actual hands on everything they sell, so they know exactly what it's like to use the product, providing you, the customer, with quality service and recommendations based on personal experience. If you're looking for a one-stop shop, eTrailer.com has you covered with a variety of RV items, including towing options, interior accessories, replacement parts, storage, and more. But it doesn't stop with RVs. eTrailer.com offers tons of automobile accessories, campground gear, and more. If you need it, chances are they've got it. Visit the link in the description and receive free shipping on orders over $99.
More in a moment, but first, this video is sponsored by our friends over at RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding, where you can get a real mattress for your RV made by a real mattress manufacturer in all different sizes and thicknesses and firmnesses. We absolutely love our mattresses from RVmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding. We have them in this RV, we had them in our last 2 RVs, and we have them in our home as well. They have a 120-night sleep trial. They're toxin-free, and you sleep just really comfortable on a real mattress, not the cheap thing that came with your RV. It's the reason you bought an RV in the first place, to haul your bed and your kitchen around with you. Get a good night's sleep. It's 30% of the time you spend in your RV. You made a big investment, buy a good mattress for it. Mattresses from RVmattress.com come shipped to you wherever you are, rolled up, vacuum sealed in a box. You open them up and you let them expand and you're off to the races. You get 30% off, the best deal they ever offer, even the Memorial Day and holiday sales. 30% off is the best you're going to get, and you get that for being an RV Miles viewer. Go to rvmattress.com/RVMiles and use the code RVMiles at checkout to get 30% off today. So on our last travel episode, a couple episodes ago, we were talking about Breckenridge, Colorado, and our visit to Breckenridge. So today we want to talk about leaving Breckenridge and the route we took to get to our high desert hangout in Park City, Utah, or just outside of Park City in Colville. It's about 20 minutes outside of the town of Park City. So we left Breckenridge and our wonderful stay at Tiger Run Resort and got on I-70 and went over Vail Pass
Again.
for Abby for the 3rd time in 10 days?
Something like that, which, is almost for a person, who, for an anxious person on a road trip, that's that's torture in a really beautiful and wonderful way. 'Cause
So
it's stunning.
gorgeous. If you haven't listened to those past episodes, Abby drove to California to help a family member out with a health issue and left us in Breckenridge, and then she came back.
Yeah.
And then we took this drive over Vail Pass again.
Each time was its own stressor because the first time I was trying to outrun a storm and was getting caught in it.
Yeah.
The second time, a cattle truck had overturned, delaying us getting back by almost 3 hours. And then the third time, we were doing it with a 15,000-pound RV behind us. So
I don't want to scare anybody off of Vail Pass, though, because there's nothing worrisome about it at all.
Truckers go up and down. It's fine.
We've done way worse, for sure. But
it's
like
fine.
Abby mentioned, that it got shut down because of that overturned truck. I-70 in various spots near us was shut down at least 3 times over the course of 1 week.
Yeah.
For various different things. And when I-70 is shut down, it's a long way around. You're going around a couple mountains any way you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, you might be adding an hour and a half, 2 hours
3
more
hours
to your drive, especially with all the backed up traffic of all the other people. So I can't mention enough that when you're in this area, when you're in the mountains of Colorado, or you're any mountainous areas where there's only a main road and there's not much else, to give yourself the time to travel, because anything can happen and you might get waylaid for some reason.
Yep. So we did that for the 3rd time. I went up and over, and we ended up what turned out being such an enjoyable drive to Vernal. We get off at Rifle Gap at I-70.
Onto Colorado 13. It's Colorado 13 to Colorado 64. The blue roads. The
blue highways.
The
for
state
all our
highways.
biomarker friends out there, book club friends.
And I don't want to oversell this route.
No.
It's stunningly beautiful, but not in the way that you expect
Simple.
Colorado to be beautiful. It's simple, remote, farmland, and quiet and serene.
Exactly what we needed.
It was really lovely.
Exactly what I needed after 10 days of stressful highway travel over big mountain passes with lots of, big semis out on the road, busy highways, and to get on these state highways and to have just this really quiet, really simple drive to this boondocking spot just felt like a complete and total reset for all of us. It was the first time we had kind of been making our way to a destination where we didn't have anything to do or anyone to see. And we were just the 5 of us. And that is not to say that anything prior to that, skiing in Breckenridge, visiting with friends, that any of that was bad. But it
It
was
was busy.
it was busy. And then to come back from LA and to be making our way towards a boondocking spot where, on the last episode, we talked about how when we boondock, it feels like everything just resets for us. Our shoulders drop down a little bit. Like we relax
Yeah.
into the RV life a bit more. So that was really great to be on that road and to know that what we were headed towards was something very similar to what this road was giving us right now.
And for those of you that have been following along this sort of trip from the beginning and what our plans were, this was not the original plan. The original plan was to go to Colorado National Monument.
Mhm.
And with the issue with Abby's brother, we decided to change up the route and extend our stay in Breckenridge. So then this ended up being the shorter path to Park City with a great boondocking spot along the way. So we stayed at a place, we've talked about this a little bit, both when we camped there and did the episode from
Yeah.
there, and when we did the episode last week on boondocking with the big rig. But we just want to mention it. It was called McCoy Flats, which is just outside of the town of Vernal. And Vernal is kind of a good home base for Dinosaur National Monument. We've done an episode on Dinosaur National Monument in the past.
We'll link to it in the description because it's been a hot minute since we talked
Yeah,
about it.
we
So
didn't
don't try to
visit.
go find it.
we didn't go to it, but if you have been avoiding Dinosaur National Monument because you're like, I just see dinosaur bones at my Natural History Museum nearby, the Dinosaur National Monument is one of those parks. There's so many parks, we talk about this all the time, that are named for one thing but have so much more to them. And the dinosaurs are really cool
Very
at
cool.
Dinosaur, especially the ones that are still like in the rock that you can see that have not been removed, right? But Dinosaur National Monument has a river that runs through it. It's got greenery. It's got whitewater rafting. It's got great camping. It's got lots of great hikes through canyons and valleys, and it's got it's got a lot of Native American history and a lot of pioneer history. And there's just so much to Dinosaur National Monument that you really ought to check out.
Yeah, in fact, the one episode we've done over the several years we've been doing Parkography, formerly America's National Parks podcast, on Dinosaur National Monument had nothing to do with the dinosaurs. It's called 90 Years in the West, and it's about this incredible woman that lived in the boundaries of Dinosaur National Monument, and her life is fascinating. Absolute, such a pioneer for her time. And so we discovered her while we were visiting. We discovered her story.
Yeah, we did a hike near her cabin.
Yes, the infamous Abby ran from the snakes hike. And we produced, so we'll link to it in the show notes. RVmiles.com/362 is going to be where you'll get everything that we talk about in this episode regarding links. So you can just go over there. We'll put it in there. We're actually getting ready to kind of zhuzh that one back up. Again, there's a whole host of Parkography episodes from the very early days that we have a writer now who's going to go through and kind of see if anything new has come about since we told that story, check all the information.
Some of our very best episodes, we want to have a video version now that we're doing video versions. So we're going to do video versions and we're going to update them and maybe expand them a little bit.
And when we were talking about the 10, what are the first 10 we want to tackle?
Yeah, that was one of them.
This was one of them. So listen to it now and then get ready for a really cool video version of this in the future.
So we had a great time in Vernal. You know, we were able to big rig boondock at this McCoy Flats area. There's plenty of room there. It's a great place to check out if you want to be in that area, because it's only 10 minutes from town, yet you feel like you're away from everything.
You can do a Walmart pickup order and be there to get your Walmart pickup order in like 15 minutes. That's how close it is to town, which we did.
I got the truck washed there.
Yes.
We did a lot of the little things that we needed to do, but then we could just stay in this peaceful spot that was kind of removed from civilization a little bit, even though it actually wasn't. So it's a great stop, especially because it's also right along US 40, and we took US 40 all the way to Park City.
And it was the perfect backdrop.
I guess to I-80 to Park City.
Yeah. Perfect backdrop for the photo shoot we did for RV Today.
Yeah,
Just
so that whole RV Today
spectacular.
photo shoot was at that McCoy Flats area.
Yeah. So from there, we're headed for our high desert hangout, which ended up just being the best time. And that all took place in Colville, Utah, which is just outside of Park City a little bit, at Rome Echo Island RV Resort. They hosted our group.
This is the wildest thing. So we pulled into this park and realized that we've been here before.
Yeah.
We've been talking to these people for months about this event, and they've been fantastic the whole time.
Yeah.
And we pull in and we realize we've been there. And not only have we been there, it was called Echo Island. It's now owned by Rome.
Yes.
Rome is this great small chain. I think they have 3 or 4 parks now of RV resorts, and they're doing really unique, fun things. I wouldn't even say RV resort, campgrounds, with, you know, a lot of amenities, but like not in a super modern way, at least this one. So let's start, I guess, by talking about Rome Echo Island.
Yeah.
And what it offers. So when we came in, we remembered the layout of this place was.
But how did we remember though that we had stayed there before? What did we do?
No, we were coming down the highway, and I see it.
Yes.
Because it is right along I-80. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because, you know, a lot of people don't like campgrounds right along the highway.
Sure.
But it's right along I-80, and there's not really anywhere else you can go there because it's in a big sort of canyon. And we're coming down the highway, and I see it, and I'm like, I remember this all. I remember all of this. And I didn't remember why I remembered. I remembered we'd been there, but why I had such a memory of that spot on the highway and where we were is that you get off the exit for this place, and you have to turn onto a frontage road. The frontage road is right next to the on-ramp to go back the other direction.
Yep.
And it looks exactly the same. And there's a frontage road sign, but it's in between the two. And I remembered years ago when we were there in 2020, I think.
Yeah, we were there in 2020.
I missed the turn and got back on the on-ramp. And I did it. I did the same exact thing this time.
We did it again, and we were like, oh no. And at that point, you're committed. There's no fixing that.
There's not another exit for it added almost a half hour for us to go down to the next exit and turn back around and come back up.
It did.
It was not fun. But you get back to this place, and it's also like there's also kind of a small, there's like a gas station that has a small RV park right there. So there's big, and they've got big gaudy RV park, like check in here, RV park signs. And you think, is this the place? And it's not. They're a little bit down the road further. And if you pay attention to your GPS, you'll get there fine. I just wasn't. So
we just weren't, because we were talking about how we'd stayed there before. And then, we decided to repeat our last trip.
You pull in, and it's sort of got, it's got these different areas in this campground. They've got a front area, which is, it seemed to be mostly
seasonal
people long-term there. And then you've got sort of the mid-section, which has the pool and a big surprise we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
And then a rear section that's backed up against the mountains, and it's got greenery looking up and a little hike up there and lots of space. And when we stayed there last time, it was nice. We had a lot of good to say about it. I remember when we did that episode, it was a little run down. There was a lot of weirdness with some of the sites in particular, especially the site we stayed at. They put us at, like, was across from the pool, like with our door, like facing out towards the pool and stuff. It was everybody was walking right past us all day long.
I have no recollection of any of this.
Anyway,
I don't
it was 5 years ago.
Jason has quite the detailed memory on this.
So now that Rome has taken it over, they've completely remodeled the place. They're still in the process of it. They've owned it for, I think, less than a year. But they've, re-blacktopped a whole lot of stuff. They've redone all the buildings, and they look great, and has this sort of like national foresty type vibe to it.
Yeah,
right?
It does.
And we stay in the back area, which was great. A lot of the other folks for our event are staying in the back area, so we're mostly all together. The pool was not opened up for this season yet. It was still cool and early, though it looked very nice. There's a couple hot tubs.
I wanted that hot tub so bad, but we were still getting quite an amount of frost every night. Like when we would wake up in the morning, things were quite frosted over. So, it's shoulder season and things like that, amenities like that, when you get out into places in higher elevation, it's kind of hit or miss whether or not they're going to get open before really the official kind of start of the summer season for them.
Yeah, a lot of places, I think pools often open like Memorial Day weekend.
Now, some of you could be opening a lot sooner, okay?
Yes.
You folks in the Midwest, stop holding off on your pools until Memorial Day.
Yeah, my dad said it was 93 the other day at home.
I don't want to hear it anymore. Open those pools up sooner.
But
come on.
This was, they're still remodeling some of the sites and redoing and some of the original site configurations were weird and angled. They're fixing a lot of that. So but they're well on their way. They're nearly done, and they have some really cool dog sites that have a large fence around them, so you can be in like at your picnic table with your dog and stuff. It's not just a little pen for your dog, but like most of your site is fenced in, and they have lots of these sites.
Yep.
So lots of interesting stuff. They're putting in glamping tents and all sorts of stuff. But the coolest part about Romeco Island is over the middle of the entire center section of the park, there is a ropes course.
And zip lines.
And with zip lines and all stuff. So this is one of those things where it's like you climb up
into the trees.
Well, let's just set the whole setting. So you go in, you check in. This was part of the event. Everybody had one shot at this, but it's like a 2-hour thing. You spend a lot of time doing this, and it's an additional charge if you're just staying there. It's like $30 a person, but they harness you up. You wear a helmet and gloves, and then they take you through a little tutorial on some obstacles on the ground.
And a whole safety procedure, too, to ensure that you're completely safe when you're up there and you know what you're doing and how to operate all of the different equipment.
But you climb up a ladder, and you're, 15, 20 feet in the air. You're up there, and you're going across all of these incredible obstacles. So like, a single wire, or you've got some sort of big flat discs of wood that you have to sort of balance on as you go across them.
You go across the side on. I mean, lots of a lot of variation to this course.
Yeah, and you'll cross a couple of obstacles, and then you'll take a zip line to the next obstacle. And all the while, you're tethered in, and you're moving this tether along with you, and then you've got a little carriage that you put on to be your zip line. But you've got a safety the whole time, but you're doing these things. The safety's not holding you in any way. If you fell, you'd fall 3 or 4 feet, and the safety would help hold you.
It'll catch you. You're fine. You're safe.
But you're doing things
you
that
have to work for this.
First of all, it is hard. I mean, they call it a challenge course, and it is a challenge. Like Henry and I were the only ones that did it.
Yeah, I'm not
in
doing
our family. And it was very challenging. I mean, we both, you have to stop and think through stuff and figure it out. And we just had a blast, but it gives you this feeling of like, these ropes courses are all over the place. There was one in West Yellowstone where we were, and they're really cool, but I had never done one before.
In a campground is quite something to have it there.
But it just gives you this feeling that, like, I don't know how to describe it. You're doing this thing that you would never in a million years do without the tether and the harness. But you can do it. I didn't fall the entire time. I could have done the whole thing without the tether and the harness. I never in a million years would. But like, just to know that you accomplished that and you could do that was really neat. And
it, I would say too that so you've got that whole element, and Jason and Henry went off. There is going to be some weight and age restrictions to some of this. So you'll want to check some of your younger campers may not be able to participate. So they have a lot of safety procedures put in place in order to be able to do this. You sign a waiver and all of that. But if that's not your jam, but you really want to kind of have that still sort of feeling of climbing around and having these little obstacle courses, they have 2 open to all campers who are there, 2 structures on the ground that are netted structures where one of them they call the nest, and it's just a big giant net that's stretched from one tree.
It's almost
to
like a
another.
trampoline made out of a big net.
Yeah,
And it's like you're in a big roost way up in the air. It's
Yeah.
so
So much
cool.
fun. And it's what a workout. Holy moly. And you go up in there, you can play around in that's open to the public. Then they have another one that has some of the similar obstacle courses that are up above you in the tree course, but they're down in this sort of like, again, like a trampoline sort of setup, but it's massive. And they have it's got a netted rope underneath you in case you fall off, but you get to go and you get to try all of these different sort of obstacles in there. And
We had so much fun playing with
so
the kids
much
on this,
fun.
particularly this sort of obstacle
Yeah.
setup, because A, it was free and we could go over there anytime we wanted.
So
And
our kids, they've aged out a little bit, right, of the traditional
yes,
playground.
and we certainly have. So
Well, there's just some structures we're not even getting into, but that's a whole other story. So we've for sure aged out. The kids in some ways are older, especially. And Henry, he still rides the fence a little bit. He'll be 12 this summer. But for them to have what felt like a kind of geared towards our tween, teen, older kid campers,
we just don't find that a lot. We don't. I mean,
we
it's
haven't found, I've never seen anything
Yeah.
like this in a
very,
campground.
very rare.
And I truly appreciated that for where we are as RVers and we're in the age of our kids, because they just spent, like Henry and Ethan spent so much time over there and it was so
Yeah.
great. They would just be gone, and to have
Now-
them have somewhere to go and hang out was super cool. And I really appreciated that.
We should mention that the ropes course and these areas are all sort of within the center section of the park. And like the ropes course goes over the top of
So for
campsites.
some people's RVs.
Right over your RVs, which is really cool to watch if you're staying there, if that's something you like. If you don't want the noise of that, if you don't want the noise of the kids playing on these structures, maybe you want to stay in one of
It has to be in
the
back.
other sections. But that's what's nice about this park is you do have the other sections you could go to. I would say my favorite sites were the ones that were along the fence overlooking a meadow that's got horses running through it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's a beautiful river that also comes and cuts through this campground as well. And then they have right on the river where we had all of our morning get-togethers and our evening get-togethers. They have fire pit, a big fire pit, and this couple of pergolas. And so that's where we hosted like our group when we would all come together and do our morning seminars. And then they would turn the fire pit on for us at night, and we would all gather around the fire. And you have this beautiful river that's kind of running through there. And our site, we were backed up to that river, like where our particular site was. And I really liked that. I liked still being close because it's just one bridge walk over to be close to the pool and the hot tub and then the amenities of the rope course and things like that. But then also being a little separated from that as well and having that really beautiful river right behind us. They've done some really smart landscaping with some of that area back there to put in some bushes and things like that that really kind of divide those sites up. So even though, again, it's, a private campground where sites can feel like they're a little close, they've made some smart landscaping in that back section especially that does help give a little bit of separation. And then that river really helps a lot too. So
and because of all of that and the way it's laid out with these distinct areas, the especially the center section and the back section are enough away from the highway that I don't remember really hearing the highway
the
much.
highway.
I mean, you could hear
You
like
can
you're gonna hear like
it,
if a
but-
trucker's using an exhaust brake every now and then, you'll hear that.
Yeah,
but like it wasn't like severe highway noise in any
Oh,
way.
no. Generally, it was kind of in the morning when it was like kind
When
of
it
quiet.
when
and
it's
stuff in
quiet
the
out,
day.
yeah.
But it was, it was a great place for us to host this meetup. We were able to everybody seemed to really enjoy the campground. And Daniel and his team there at Echo Island, I just want to say thank you to them because they really went above and beyond to help make this event so special for everybody. And we're always available and checking in with us and, making sure we were having a good time and we had everything we needed. And I just feel like it's really important to thank the people there on the ground who were working tirelessly while we were there because they truly did.
More in a moment, but first, if you're like us, you absolutely need internet on your travels. And the sponsor of today's video is a great internet solution for travelers. It's a cellular device that works on multiple carriers from a company called Travelfi. Travelfi allows remote workers or anyone on the move really reliable internet access that allows you to move around freely. You don't have to have a permanent location at all to set it up. It's a small, compact device with no contracts and no commitments. You just pay for the months you use, and it just works really well, really quickly, really easily. And if it isn't working for you, they have a US-based call center to help you troubleshoot. Travelfi allows you to stream, work, and play on the go, whether you need internet in your RV, your cabin, even your hotel room. You can get internet in so many different places thanks to their multi-carrier network, and you can browse and work in confidence and comfort. When you go to their website and use the code RVMiles15, you can get 15% off your device order. Again, no contracts, no commitments. You just pay for the months you're using it for. If you're not traveling in the winter, you don't have to pay for it in those months. There's a link in the description below, or you can go to travelfi.com. That's TRAVLFI.com. There's no E. TRAVLFI.com, or go to the link in the description and use code RVMiles15 for 15% off.
We had a great time there. It was nice proximity to Park City. We didn't go into Park City a ton because our whole focus of being there was for this event, but we went in.
We did
for
go
some
in a couple times.
haircuts.
We went for some haircuts. As a family, we went to a place called Red Rock Brewing and had a nice little
It was all right.
brewery meal, and they had some interesting names for some of their beers.
Yeah, that was fun to try and get Ethan to figure out those names. It was fine. I think of the two places we did eat at while we were there, we took our group to Park City Brewing, and we had our last night, we all went there. I think the food was better there.
Red Rock Brewery had a little bit better atmosphere.
It was a little bit.
Park City had better food.
Better food. I think both are kind of pretty equal.
They're right next to each other. I
Yeah.
mean, not next to each other, but they're in the same shopping center. There's a cool shopping center right downtown that's got where we got our haircut, but we also walked around and went to shops and went to Barnes and Noble and bought some books and things like that.
But a lot of unique shops to that area too. And while the guys were off getting their haircut, I did go into this place. It's called Hill's Kitchen, Hill Kitchen. And I got a really great coffee and a absolutely delicious, beautiful gluten-free pastry from there. And they had a gorgeous pastry case. So nice. They were some of the nicest people. I talked to this woman who was behind the counter for 5 minutes about nothing and everything. And it was just such a lovely conversation. And so, I didn't experience any of the other food they have there. They have some kind of sandwich menu, a light menu there. But I just thought that the atmosphere and the people, really great. If you find yourself in that area, I recommend you go over and just check them out because they were so nice.
Now, we didn't get to do it this time, but the last time we were in Park City, well, actually a couple times ago we were in Park City, we got to visit the Olympic training facility. And I highly recommend, if you're in this area, to consider going for a visit there, whether it's in the summer or winter or whatever. Not only can you see winter sports athletes training, going down the bobsled, or the freestyle jumpers. The freestyle jumpers even train into the summer because they have a pool for them to land in, and there's a gallery where you can watch them do this. And
right now they're gearing up for the Olympics because Salt Lake has the Olympics in, I think, 2032.
Yeah,
So they're gearing
It's
up.
a while to gear up for.
No, the facility is
Yeah.
gearing up. So the facility is undergoing major repairs, and it's getting kind of like a glow up in preparing for the 2032 Olympics.
But when
So
we visited, we got to go to the top of the big ski jump and look down it and stuff. And
that's really
got to
cool.
look at the bobsled track. There's a ski museum and stuff there. So definitely check that out if you're in the area. So we want to thank all the community that came out to the High Desert Hangout. We had a blast. If you are considering going to an event like this, we've got a great one coming up. If you want to come to our homecoming rally the last week of September in Amana, Iowa, it's a very similar thing. It's a few more people, but not a ton more. And it's a little bit longer, but not a ton longer. And we have a great time having some communal meals together. We do seminars. We visit the town of Amana, which is this cool historic German town that's got breweries, wineries, and all kinds of like antique shopping and
stuff.
crafts
Great.
and stuff. There's plenty of like walking tours to do. And we just have a great time hanging out with the RV Miles community as sort of the unofficial celebration of the end of the summer camping season.
Yeah, in fact, one of the little bits of feedback I got from the High Desert Hangout was that a lot of people wished it was one day longer. And so this is what homecoming is. Homecoming gets that one day longer, gets that one extra day. And because that we have so much fun. And it's not about, because, you know, we do kind of pack it full of stuff, but we try to leave a little bit of free time. But we do pack it full with things that help build community, that give us an opportunity to all come together and hang out. But, you know, we're not going to like, well, actually this last time we did make everybody go around a circle because we were a small group and answer questions. But I thought that was a lot of fun, and it kind of helped break the ice a little bit because we had such a small time together. But
one of the big things that people say at these events is like, I didn't think I was a person that would want to go to an event like this. I'm not a person that would want to go to an event like this, but like, they end up having a great time and enjoying it and meet new friends. And we've had lots and lots of people meet at our events and become like really, really good friends that
we've become
travel together
friends.
and stuff. Yeah.
It's for us, it's been an opportunity to like become, you know, meet people and then have returners who become friends. And that happened at the High Desert Hangout. So many of you who had come to either homecoming, or there were some of you who've been to every single event. Well, you're friends to us now. I mean, it's like we have these relationships. We get to check back in and spend time with one another and laugh around the campfire. And it's really great. So we'd love to see more of you come and join us at homecoming. It's September 24th through the 28th in Amana, Iowa. You can learn all about it at rvmiles.com/homecoming. All right, it is time to check the level of our tanks. And as if you've noticed, as this episode has gone on, I've continued to put more and more things on. So now
I don't know I feel like it's getting warmer out, and you're putting a hat on and
freezing.
the sun's shining. It's gorgeous.
I started off with no sunglasses, no hat, and now halfway through the sunglasses had to come on because my eyes were watering so bad. Now the hat has had to come on because my hands are freezing, but that will not deter us. It is time to check the level of our tanks, and this is sponsored by our friends over at Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the No BS toilet treatment. They are still giving away that Alliance Delta. Just go over to liquefiedrv.com. They are doing that now through the end of May. All right, Jay, what is in your black tank this week?
I kind of mentioned that this might be happening, I think, last week or the week before, but more layoffs in the RV industry, this time Winnebago. The motorhome manufacturing in and around Forest City, Iowa, they're laying off about 200 folks at Winnebago. And, you know, this is there's a lot of change happening in the RV industry. They're having a tough time in certain areas, but in particular the motorhome sector, because people just aren't buying as many motorhomes anymore. There's a lot more people buying trailers and a lot fewer motorhomes. Motorhomes have been losing share of the marketplace for a long time, especially Class B motorhomes. You know, there was a moment there during early COVID when Class B motorhomes were like the darling of the industry. They were exploding. And now the Class B motorhome sales have just tanked. Class B meaning a van, a camper van. And they have really, really tanked. And, you know, Winnebago is one of the larger motorhome manufacturers, and most of their I think all motorhome manufacturing takes place in Iowa, and I think all of their trailer manufacturing takes place in Indiana. So this is mainly affecting the motorhome stuff because fewer people are buying motorhomes. I think some of that has to do with, it's cheaper to buy a trailer at this point, and people are definitely buying more affordable RVs. We're definitely seeing some growth in the more affordable market. But I also think just bigger picture, long term, over the course of the last decade or two, truck ownership has just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And more people own trucks, and more people see the value of owning a truck and pulling a trailer, even if it's a small trailer, instead of a motorhome, because motorhomes are great. Don't get me wrong. We're talking about getting one at some point here.
We
But
are?
you've been talking about getting
Class
camper
B.
rent.
Sorry, sorry, I was thinking Class A. I got to tell you though, we're talking about all of this, but if you were to show up
Years
at
down the
Fishing Bridge Campground right now and walk into the upper loop where we are, you would think that like Class A motorhomes and just motorhome sales in general were like through the roof.
But in general, like, I think we see motorhomes in campgrounds, motorhomes that we see out and about overrepresent how many are being sold because people use them more, and they use them for longer. The average motorhome is on the road twice the number of years as your given travel trailer or fifth wheel. So and I think the people that own motorhomes use them, if you, especially some of these big ones that people are spending $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 on, they're trying to get their money out of that, right? I think.
I would hope. I would hope.
So they're using them extensively. They're better in the cold weather than a lot of trailers too. So, but yeah, I mean, motorhomes are really coming down. I think it's a mix of a lot of things. Certainly one being economical factors, another being truck sales, and it'll be interesting to see in the next few years what happens with that market. But it's definitely consolidating and shrinking faster than the travel trailer and fifth wheel market.
All right, what's in your fresh tank this week?
My fresh tank this week, I got to kind of save this place for the episode that we do on West Yellowstone. But we went back, just going to tease that a little bit. We went back to this place called Firehole Barbecue that we just love. It's some of the best barbecue that we've ever had.
Chef's kiss.
But the fresh tank isn't necessarily just about that place. We'll talk about that place when we do that episode. If I ever write a book, it will be a lot about how we are all more the same than we are different.
Yeah.
Across this country. People like to, people from different political spectrums will say, I'm never going to that state because they do this, right? And doesn't matter which side they're on. And I've talked about this in the past, but if I ever write a book, I would want to try to show people through primarily food how much we are more the same than we are. Because people say like, oh, Texas barbecues are the best. You can only get good barbecue in Texas. People will say, you can only get good barbecue in Kansas City or wherever it is.
It's true.
Look, that you might love that style of barbecue, right? But we are in a world now where, hey, somebody that grew up in a family that made barbecue in Kansas City could move to California or New York or wherever, and they could make barbecue there, and it's gonna be good.
Maybe it's more about, I prefer Kansas City style barbecue.
And there's Arthur Bryant's is some of the best barbecue I've ever had in my life.
The best.
And there are going to be these certain places wherever. But look, have I ever been to a barbecue restaurant that I was like, oh, this is gross? Maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
One of them was in Kansas City.
Yeah.
But
it's true.
In general, like there's good barbecue everywhere. There's good pizza everywhere.
Except St. Louis.
Like if you, sure, but you could go to St. Louis and not get St. Louis style pizza if you don't like
Right now,
St.
there's
Louis
like
style
5
pizza.
people in St. Louis that watch the show that are just like, that's it. I'm done with RV Miles.
We've had New York style pizza made by New Yorkers with water shipped from New York. So don't give me that whole, oh, it's the water thing. They ship the water from New York in Pensacola, Florida.
You're like scaring all the animals away right now because you're getting
I've always cracked up about people that say, oh, you can only get good Mexican food in Texas or Arizona or Southern California or wherever they decide the best Mexican food is because it's closer to Mexico. And I'm like, look, I lived in Chicago for 16 years and all my food was made by Mexican people, whether it was at the Italian restaurant or at the Irish restaurant.
There were some incredible Mexican restaurants there.
So
phenomenal.
Look, there's good food everywhere. And I think that there's something about our common humanity to be said through that. I think there's like, people.
Wow, you're like an Anthony Bourdain right now. Like, listen to you.
I do. I mean, like I was thinking about we were in Breckenridge and half the people working at that Walmart in Breckenridge were from Africa.
Yeah, it was pretty rad. It was, I mean, well, Yellowstone is such a case in point of, people coming in from all over the world to work here, the seasonal workers that are here. They just opened up the grill at the general store here in Fishing Bridge yesterday. We sat down to eat some really bad movie theater nachos there for a little bit. And they'd been open
so bad they're great. I mean,
so bad they're good. They'd been open for 4 hours. Like they just opened up. So, but it's all the seasonal workers that are here now from all over the country.
Those tortilla chips didn't have time to stale yet. It's great.
So good. So good. So
the liquid cheese from the can.
So thank you, Anthony Bourdain, for your.
You're welcome.
I hope you do write a book on this.
What is in your black tank?
So my black tank is more of just a PSA, gentle reminder for those of us enjoying shoulder season RVing when the animals are really out right now and the babies are being born and there's just a lot of activity. There's a lot of activity here in Yellowstone right now. We've seen 3 grizzlies, and then today when we were walking down to Fishing Bridge, we saw a paw print in the ground that massive. And
the two of the grizzlies we saw were probably the same one, and it was kind of like a juvenile. Like it wasn't a baby, it wasn't fully grown. It was sort of, but it wasn't a black bear.
But this is just a friendly reminder to make sure that you are staying safe around wildlife, that you're keeping those distances that are recommended, 25 yards for the bison, 100 yards for the bears. We've had bears that have been, the ones that we've encountered since we got here, we encountered from our truck. They were up there on the main road, only a couple miles from the entrance to West Yellowstone is where we encountered this. But it's just a reminder that if you've got wildlife on the side of the road, really don't get out of your car.
Yeah, and there have already been this year here in Yellowstone, there's been a bison goring incident. There's been a bear incident.
And unfortunately, a bear had to be put down here in Yellowstone just a few days ago.
This bear was overturning entire giant dumpsters in campgrounds.
So it was a 400-pound grizzly, unfortunately, that had to be put down. That was going around the Old Faithful area, a lot of the highly populated areas here in the park, and it had figured out it had been fed enough human food that it was kind of, I guess, jonesing for it. It was seeking it out, and unfortunately, they had to go ahead and put it down because the concern was it was dumping over massive dumpsters
like
to get into
the Madison
things.
campground.
It was very aggressive in its behavior, and the concern was that it would kind of impart that behavior onto other bears in the park. And so after a lot of deliberation and a lot of other attempts to keep that from happening, this 400-pound grizzly had to be put down. So we have such a responsibility to remember that we're in the home of the wildlife, and we need to try and allow them to be as wild as possible. And those are all, anytime, there's a lot of rules here about when we come into these spaces, and it's not because they just want to control us and have rules and tell us what to do and, oh, this is my land and I should do what I want. No, you shouldn't, because what happens then is a beautiful 400-pound grizzly has to be put down because we made poor decisions as humans, and we have the ability to not make those decisions, okay? I can't walk up to a grizzly and try to reason with it. It doesn't understand that. But we understand reason. We can understand rules and why they're in place. And so just be mindful when you see wildlife so that you stay safe and people around you stay safe. Keep those distances, keep your trash picked up, and let's ensure that the wildlife gets to continue to be wild and we get to continue to enjoy them living their best life here in Yellowstone and all across the country.
What's in your fresh tank this week?
Oh, so my fresh tank is, we have been really fortunate to run into a lot of people out on our travels, and we love when people come up and say hi and we get to talk to them. And it's such a great way because, we say it all the time, we're always in front of this camera and we're talking to you, but we never get the opportunity to have back and forth.
We're talking to a piece of glass.
Yeah, we're looking at a piece of glass right now and talking to it and hoping that you're enjoying what we're saying. But we were leaving West Yellowstone a few days ago, and we were in the Grizzly RV Park campground there for a few days. And you were in the truck. We were getting ready to hook up. We were totally closed up, and a truck came by and they stopped and they said my name, and I walked over to talk to them, and we talked for a little bit. And it was just, there were 4 people in the truck, and 2 of them, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. If you're watching right now, it was you that I'm talking about. And I'm so sad that I didn't get your names or I didn't remember your names. But they were just talking about how much they enjoy spending time with us. And it was the woman that I was talking to, I just want her to know that when she left, I started crying because she was saying things, and the way she was saying them to me, I'm going to cry thinking about it. But I felt really, really seen by her. I don't know how else to say it. I know everyone thinks that's such a buzzword, or, but I felt so seen by her, and the way the things that she was saying and the words that she was using. And she said, I appreciate you. And I think there's something really powerful when you say to someone, I appreciate you, as opposed to, I appreciate what you do. But when you say to someone, I appreciate you, and you genuinely mean it, and she was talking about both of us, that person really feels it. And this is to not diminish any other person that we've met on the road, so please don't take it like that. I just want this couple to know how I'm so glad that they stopped. We're always so glad when you stop and talk to us. But I just wanted them to know, because they were like, we don't want to bother you. You didn't bother us. You left us with you gave us a gift that day. So thank you to everyone. When you stop, you leave such an impression on us. And when they walked away and I came up to you and you were like, you said something like, oh, who's that? And I was just like, oh, they were so nice, Jason. And I was crying. And I was like, they were so nice to us. And they just said the nicest things. And so please know that, those interactions for us, when you walk away from us, they leave a little spot for us. So just thank you to that couple, and thank you to everyone that stopped us on this trip as we get close to the end, and we got to go climb back into the studio where we're back in our bubble again. So just thank you to everyone who stopped us along this journey so far in the last 6 weeks and talked to us. It's meant a lot. So thank you.
That's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles podcast.
Yes, it is. I can't feel my hands anymore, so it's time for us to wrap this up. What did I say to you before we started this? What did I say? Do you remember?
No.
Let's make this let's
Oh, you say that before every episode. Let's make this a quick one.
Let's not keep people here for
The last
over an
one
hour.
was an hour 24.
Jason, let's not keep everyone here over an hour. Nobody wants to watch this over an hour.
Then why are you adding stuff?
I know, here I am adding more and more, but thank you so much for watching us. Of course, if you want to learn more about becoming a Mile Marker member, please head over to rvmiles.com/milemarkers. Homecoming is coming up. You can find that at rvmiles.com/homecoming. But until next week, please stay safe, stay healthy, and keep logging those RV miles.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.